Hyunwoo moved before Thex could stop him. The Ravagers on the ceiling hadn't noticed him yet. They were focused on the main defensive line where most of the alien soldiers were firing from cover. He raised the metal pipe and struck the lowest Ravager hard across its joints. The holographic creature registered the hit and fell, dissolving into pixels. Hyunwoo rolled to the side as another Ravager dropped toward him. He came up swinging, using the pipe to keep the creature at a distance while backing toward a better position. "What are you doing?" Thex's voice was panicked in his earpiece. "They're not expecting aggression," Hyunwoo called back. "They think we'll just hold and wait." He glanced at the other teams. Minji's group was pinned down completely. Jinwoo's team was following protocol but being slowly surrounded. The alien soldiers fought well, but they were reactive, always responding to Ravager moves instead of making moves of their own. Across the simulated station, similar scenes played out. The Ravagers adapted to every defensive position, flowing around obstacles like water. The standard GDF tactics were failing. Then something changed. Minji apparently reached the same conclusion Hyunwoo had. He heard her voice over the command channel. "We're going through them." Her alien partner, a Velcrin named Crix, protested loudly. "That is against all tactical doctrine." "Your doctrine is getting us killed," Minji shot back. "Follow me or don't." She charged forward, not away from the Ravagers, but toward them. Her team's alien soldiers hesitated for only a moment before following. They broke through the Ravager line while the creatures were still processing this unexpected behavior. In the observation room above the simulation, Commander Velthas watched with fascination. The other observers, all high-ranking military officials, leaned forward in their seats. "The humans are breaking formation," one officer noted with concern. "No," Velthas said slowly. "They are making formation. Watch." On the simulation floor, Hyunwoo reached a junction where 3 corridors met. From here, he could see multiple Ravager groups. They were coordinating, moving in patterns that would eventually trap all the defensive positions. "Thex, can your rifle hit that support beam?" Hyunwoo pointed to a structural element above a large group of Ravagers. "Yes, but why would I? Just trust me. On my signal." Hyunwoo grabbed a piece of loose debris and threw it down one corridor. The sound drew Ravager attention. As they clustered beneath the beam investigating the noise, Hyunwoo shouted, "Now!" Thex fired. The beam collapsed, taking out 7 Ravagers at once and blocking that corridor. It wasn't elegant, but it worked. "How did you know they would gather there?" Thex asked, amazement in their voice. "Pack behavior. They investigate disturbances as a group. Makes them stronger usually, but also predictable." Jinwoo's voice came over the command channel. "All humans, listen up. Standard tactics aren't working. We need to control the engagement zones, drive them into kill boxes instead of waiting for them to surround us." "That is extremely risky," Crix protested. "Sitting still is riskier," Jinwoo replied. "We're not trying to outlast them. We're trying to outsmart them." One by one, the human-led teams shifted tactics. Instead of holding static positions, they moved aggressively. They used the environment as weapons, collapsing corridors, venting atmosphere in sealed sections, turning the station itself into a trap. The alien soldiers adapted, though with clear reluctance. But they began to see results. Ravager groups that expected defensive prey found aggressive hunters instead. The creatures' coordination faltered when their targets refused to behave predictably. Jiwon's team cornered a large Ravager group in what looked like a cargo bay. Her alien partner wanted to call for support and wait. "We have them trapped now," Jiwon said. "If we wait, they'll find a way out." "We go in." "That is suicide," the alien soldier protested. "No, waiting is suicide. Going in is just dangerous. There's a difference." They went in. 3 minutes later, the cargo bay was clear. Jiwon's team had taken simulated damage but survived. More importantly, they had eliminated a major Ravager force. In the observation room, one of the military officials was shaking their head. "The humans are taking unacceptable casualties. Check the overall numbers," Velta said quietly. The official pulled up the statistics and went silent. Yes, human-led teams were taking more individual hits, but they were also completing objectives faster and eliminating more Ravagers. The mission success rate was climbing rapidly. On the simulation floor, Hyunwoo and Thex had linked up with 2 other teams. Together they were pushing toward the civilian evacuation point, where the heaviest Ravager concentration had gathered. "This is foolish," one of the alien soldiers said. "We should request heavy weapon support." By the time support arrives, the civilians will be dead, Yunwu countered. We hit them from 3 sides simultaneously. They can't defend all directions at once. How do you know that? Another alien asked. Because nothing can defend all directions at once. It's basic pack dynamics. The combined team attacked. It was chaotic and loud. Nothing like the clean tactical operations the aliens trained for, but it was effective. The Ravagers, caught between multiple aggressive forces, broke their formation trying to address all threats at once. Within 10 minutes, the evacuation point was secure. Holographic civilians began boarding the escape shuttles. Minji's voice came over the command channel, slightly breathless. Sector 7 is clear. Moving to support Sector 9. Sector 4 secured, Jinwu reported. Minimal casualties. Recommend all teams adopt Aggressive Pattern Alpha. Aggressive Pattern Alpha wasn't a real military term. Jinwu had just made it up. But the other humans understood. Push forward, control the engagement, use the environment. Don't let the enemy dictate terms. The alien soldiers struggled with this approach, but they adapted. Thex, fighting alongside Hyunwoo, began to understand. Where Velcrin instinct said to wait and prepare, human instinct said to act and adapt. Both had value, but in this scenario, human instinct was proving more effective. The simulation wound down. The last Ravager groups were eliminated. All civilian evacuation points were secured. Final casualty reports came in. Human-led teams had taken 40% more individual damage than standard teams, but they had completed their objectives 300% faster and with 200% more efficiency. More importantly, they had prevented the Ravagers from establishing any strong positions. The simulation ended. The holographic environment dissolved, leaving the participants standing in a large empty room, sweating and breathing hard. Thex approached Hyunwoo, antennae moving in a way that suggested respect. You fight like prey that evolved into predators. That's basically what humans are, Hyunwoo replied with a tired smile. In the observation room, the military officials were having an intense discussion. Commander Velthus listened to the arguments with colors shifting rapidly across their skin. The humans are too reckless, one official insisted. This cannot be standard operating procedure. But it works, another countered. Look at the results. We have been losing to the Ravagers because we fight too cautiously. The humans took significant damage, but completed the mission. When was the last time our forces completed a Ravager boarding scenario this quickly? Velthus raised one hand for silence. All 4 hands, actually, which was a gesture of great importance among the Kresh. The simulation reveals what we suspected. Humans possess instincts we lack. They are comfortable with risk in ways we are not. They see combat patterns we cannot perceive. The commander's colors settled on a decisive purple. This is exactly what the Galactic Defense Force needs. One official leaned back in their chair. So we integrate humans into our military structure? We create a new program, the Terran Integration Initiative, human advisors in tactical planning, mixed species units with human tactical officers, comprehensive training that combines our technology with their instincts. The Council will never approve. The Council will approve once they see these results, Velthus interrupted. We are losing the war. The Ravagers expand daily. We need every advantage we can find, and humans are an advantage. Below, in the simulation chamber, the participants were being debriefed. Hyunwoo sat next to Thex, both of them exhausted. Will you consider military service? Thex asked. Hyunwoo thought about it. A week ago, he would have said no immediately. He came to study biology, to learn about alien life, to build peaceful connections between species. But the galaxy wasn't peaceful, and humans, whether they liked it or not, had something to offer. Maybe advisory work, Hyunwoo said finally. I'm not a soldier, but if I can help soldiers survive, that seems worth doing. Around the room, similar conversations were happening. Not all humans were interested in military work, but enough were intrigued. Enough saw the potential to make a difference. Minji sat against the wall, talking with Crix. You fought well today, the Velcrin said. You adapted, Minji replied. That's harder than people think. Changing tactics mid-fight takes courage. Humans make it look easy. Only because we've been doing it our whole lives. On Earth, you adapt or you die. We're just used to it. Crix made a thoughtful clicking sound. Perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. To learn how to adapt from those who had no choice but to master it. Commander Velthus entered the chamber, and all conversation stopped. The commander's colors were a pleased yellow-orange. Excellent work, everyone. Hyunwoo woke up to his datapad exploding with notifications. He squinted at the screen, still half asleep. 347 messages, 12 missed calls. His social media had gained 2,000 followers overnight. What the? He muttered, scrolling through the chaos. The seminar had been recorded. Someone had edited it down to the most shocking moments and posted it on GalacticNet with the caption, "Humans are from a death world and don't even know it." The video had been viewed 8 million times. In 12 hours, a new hashtag was trending across multiple systems. Humans, our crazy Hyunwoo got dressed quickly and headed to the common area. Minji was already there, looking as bewildered as he felt. Jiwon sat at a table with her datapad, reading something with wide eyes. Subin paced back and forth, talking rapidly in Korean on her communicator. "Have you seen this?" Minji held up her datapad. Someone made a compilation video called "Humans Casually Describing Nightmare Monsters for 20 Minutes. "I got an interview request," Jiwon said, "from Galactic News Network. They want to do a piece on the Death World species among us." Subin ended her call and sat down heavily. "The Korean embassy contacted me. They want us to stop giving presentations about Earth wildlife. They're getting calls from concerned governments." "We were just being honest," Hyunwoo protested. "I know. But now trade partners are questioning security protocols. Some species are demanding that human ships undergo additional biocontamination checks in case we accidentally bring Earth animals with us." Hyunwoo's datapad buzzed again. This time it was his roommate Kieran. The message was short. "We need to talk." When Hyunwoo got back to his quarters, he found Kieran packing their belongings. Kieran was a Phloxian, a species that looked like a person-shaped mass of translucent gel. Their kind could reshape themselves slightly, and right now Kieran was pulled back as far as possible, pressed against the opposite wall. "I requested a room transfer," Kieran said through their translator. The device floated in the middle of their gelatinous body. "I am sorry, but I cannot live with a human anymore." "Kieran, come on. I'm the same person I was yesterday." "Yesterday I did not know you came from a planet with hundreds of apex predators. Yesterday I did not know your species considers being chased by animals a fun recreational activity." "What are you talking about?" Kieran projected an image from their datapad onto the wall. It showed humans running from bulls in some Earth festival. "I found this in your cultural database. You run toward dangerous creatures for entertainment. That's just one weird festival in Spain. Most humans don't do that. But some do. That is enough." Kieran oozed toward the door. "The transfer is approved. I will be gone by evening. Please do not take this personally." When the door closed, Hyunwoo sat on his bed and put his head in his hands. Meanwhile, across the station, reactions varied wildly. In the security sector, a human named Jinwoo was being questioned by his supervisor. Jinwoo had worked station security for 2 years without incident. Now his supervisor, a Velcrin named Drax, watched him with new wariness. "I need you to file a complete report on human threat responses," Drax said. "The Council wants to know if human security officers pose a risk during crisis situations." "A risk? I've saved lives here. Remember the reactor leak last year?" "You ran toward the radiation," Drax said slowly. "We thought you were brave. Now the Council thinks you might have death-seeking instincts." "I wore a radiation suit. Most species would not approach regardless of protection. The fear would be too great." Drax clicked his mandibles together. "Just write the report. Explain human risk assessment. Make it clear you are not unstable." In the academic district, Professor Thrace was fielding calls from universities across the galaxy. Everyone wanted human guest speakers now. The footage had sparked intense academic interest in Death World psychology, but not all attention was positive. Some species were circulating petitions to limit human enrollment in galactic institutions. Others wanted humans classified as a monitored species, requiring check-ins and behavioral assessments. The human students gathered that evening in a meeting room. There were 23 humans on the entire station, and 20 showed up. They needed to figure out how to handle the situation. "We need a unified response," said Dae-hyun, the oldest human student present. He was studying advanced mathematics and usually stayed out of social situations. "If we all say different things, it makes humans look disorganized and unpredictable." "What do we even say?" Minji asked. "Sorry, we're from Earth." "We explained that Earth made us resilient, not aggressive," Subin suggested. "We survived our world by being smart and adaptable, not by being violent." "But we are more aggressive than most species here," Ji-won pointed out. "Competition is normal to us. Most galactic species cooperate by default. We compete by default." This was met with uncomfortable silence because it was true. Humans argued and competed in ways that made other species deeply uncomfortable. Even friendly human debates looked like fights to some aliens. "Maybe we lean into it," Hyunwoo said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. Not the violence part, but the resilience, the adaptability. "We're from a hard world, and we're proud of it. We survived Earth so we can handle anything space throws at us." "That might make things worse," Subin warned. "Or better," Jinwoo said. He had joined the meeting after his shift. "I talked to some Velkrin security officers today. You know what they said? They wish they had human instincts. The galaxy is dangerous right now, and most species are too cautious to adapt." "The Ravager War," Dae-hyun said quietly. Everyone nodded. The Ravagers were a hive-mind species expanding aggressively into galactic space. The Galactic Defense Force was losing ground because most member species had little combat experience. Their worlds were peaceful. They had evolved past predation. Earth had not evolved past anything. Earth was still red in tooth and claw. "Someone from the GDF will probably contact us," Jinwoo continued. "Military recruiters always look for an edge. We might be it." As if summoned by his words, a message pinged through to every human datapad simultaneously. It was from Commander Velthas of the Galactic Defense Force, requesting a meeting with all human students on the station. The meeting was scheduled for the next day. That night, Hyunwoo couldn't sleep. He browsed GalacticNet, reading the posts about humans. Some were funny, memes about humans casually mentioning their house bears or pet dragons. Some were concerned, worried posts about whether humans could be trusted. One post stood out. It was from a Velkrin soldier on the front lines against the Ravagers. "Just watch the human video. If these people can live on a planet with those monsters and still smile about it, maybe we need them out here. Maybe they're exactly what we need." The post had 50,000 likes and was being shared rapidly through military channels. Hyunwoo closed his datapad and stared at the ceiling. They had come to the station to study, to learn, to build bridges between species. Instead, they had accidentally revealed that humans were the scary ones. The galaxy was looking at Earth with new eyes, and Hyunwoo wasn't sure if that was good or terrifying. Probably both, he decided, just like Earth itself. Hyunwoo sat in the back row of the xenobiology classroom, his datapad open and ready. Around him, students from 12 different species filled the lecture hall. The room smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres that the station's air system tried to balance. To his left sat a student whose skin shimmered like oil on water. To his right, a being made of what looked like living crystal-tapped notes with a sound like wind chimes. Professor Thrace entered the room, her mantis-like body clicking as she moved. She was Velkrin, one of the most common species in the galactic unity. Her compound eyes could see in directions that made Hyunwoo dizzy if he thought about it too long. She set down her teaching materials and turned to face the class. "Today we study apex predators," Professor Thrace announced. Her voice came through a translator device, giving it a slight mechanical tone. "Every world with complex life has them. Creatures that hunt, that kill, that sit at the top of their food chain." Hyunwoo leaned back in his chair. This sounded interesting. Back on Earth, he had loved watching nature documentaries. His friends always joked that he should have studied wildlife biology instead of coming to space. "I have collected audio recordings from many worlds," the professor continued. "We will listen to each one. Students from each world, please provide context for your planet's apex predator." The first recording played, a low rumbling sound like thunder mixed with grinding rocks. The crystal being next to Hyunwoo shrank down, making itself smaller. Several other crystalline students did the same across the room. The stone crusher of Kiran 4, one of them explained, their voice tight with fear. It breaks our parent rocks to feed on the minerals inside. Very dangerous. Hyunwoo nodded politely, though the creature sounded slow based on the audio. The recording had lots of pauses between the rumbles. More recordings played. Each one brought reactions from different students. A high-pitched shriek made the aquatic students wrap their tentacles around themselves. A deep hooting sound caused the insectoid students to activate personal shield devices that shimmered around their bodies. Hyunwoo noticed a pattern. Every species seemed terrified of their own world's predators. When a student described their apex predator, others listened with what looked like sympathy and horror. Then Professor Thrace pulled up a new file. This one comes from Earth, she said, specifically from the mountainous regions. It is called a mountain hunter in the database. She pressed play. The sound that filled the classroom made Hyunwoo smile. It was unmistakable. The screaming cry of a cougar echoed through the speakers, followed by low growls and another shriek. The recording captured the animal in what sounded like territorial calling. Around him, the classroom reacted. The crystal student shot upward, making itself as tall as possible. Probably some kind of fear response. The oil shimmer student turned a deep purple color. Several alien students actually activated emergency personal shields. One student near the front made a sound like a kettle whistling and ran from the room. Hyunwoo couldn't help it. He laughed. The sound of his laughter cut through the tension in the room. Every eye, compound or otherwise, turned to look at him. Professor Thrace's antennae went rigid. You find this amusing, student Hyunwoo? The professor asked. Sorry, Hyunwoo said, trying to control his smile. It's just that's only a cougar. They're basically big cats. The silence in the room grew heavier. Big cats? A student whispered. Yeah, Hyunwoo continued, not noticing the stares. They usually avoid humans. You mostly see them in the wilderness. My uncle saw one once while hiking, but it ran away when he shouted at it. Your uncle survived an encounter with an apex predator? Professor Thrace's voice had changed somehow. It sounded higher. Well, yeah. Like I said, they avoid people mostly. You're supposed to make yourself look big and back away slowly. Don't run because that triggers their chase instinct. A student made a choking sound. The door opened and Minji walked in, late as usual. She was the only other human in the class. She caught the tail end of the cougar recording as it finished. Oh, is that a mountain lion? She asked casually, taking her seat. We used to hear those sometimes at my grandmother's. Mountain house. The oil shimmer student made a sound like bubbling water and moved 2 seats away from her. Professor, Thrace set down her datapad with a click. You both lived near these creatures? Near enough, Minji said with a shrug. I mean, you have to be careful, but they're not that dangerous if you know what you're doing. Black bears are scarier, honestly. They'll actually get into your trash and… Bears. Several students shouted at once. Hyunwoo and Minji looked at each other, confused. Earth has multiple apex predators, Professor Thrace asked slowly. Well, yeah, Hyunwoo said. I mean, it depends on where you are. North America has cougars, bears, wolves, alligators in the south. Other continents have lions, tigers, leopards, crocodiles. Stop! Professor Thrace held up a claw. Please stop. A student near the front was making calculations on their datapad. That is at least 8 apex predators. On one planet. How is this possible? 8? Minji laughed. That's just the big ones. There are way more if you count all the regions. Sharks in the oceans, venomous snakes, even hippos in Africa. Those things kill more people than… Your planet has aquatic apex predators too? The aquatic student looked like they might faint. Professor Thrace sat down at her desk. She never sat during lectures. Class dismissed, she said quietly. I need to review the Earth database files. Clearly there has been some mistake in the classification. Students filed out quickly, giving Hyunwoo and Minji a wide berth. Several activated their personal shields when passing them. In the hallway, another Korean student named Subin approached them. She was studying diplomacy and always tried to smooth over cultural misunderstandings. You two need to be more careful, Subin said in Korean, so only they could understand. You just scared half the class. We were just being honest, Hyunwoo protested. It's not our fault their planets are safer. That's exactly the attitude that's going to get humans labeled as a dangerous species, Subin sighed. Do you know what class Death World Earth is rated? Hyunwoo and Minji shook their heads. Class 9, the highest classification. Most of these students come from Class 2 or 3 worlds. To them, you're from a nightmare planet, Minji frowned. But Earth is beautiful. We have forests and oceans and full of things that want to eat you, Subin finished. Look, just be more sensitive, okay? Not everyone grew up having to worry about being hunted. As they walked away, Hyunwoo saw Professor Thrace through the classroom window. She was on a communication device talking rapidly to someone. On her screen, he could see video footage of a grizzly bear catching salmon. The professor's antennae were quivering. Hyunwoo had a feeling this wasn't over. He just didn't realize how big this was about to become. 3 days after the classroom incident, Hyunwoo received a message on his datapad. Professor Thrace wanted to see him and Minji in her office. The message was marked urgent with a red flag that made his datapad vibrate insistently. When they arrived, the office was crowded. Professor Thrace sat behind her desk, but 3 other professors had also squeezed into the small space. One was a floating jellyfish-like creature in a water tank on a hover platform. Another looked like a walking tree with eyes hidden somewhere in the bark. The third was a Velcrin like Professor Thrace but older, with silvered edges to their carapace. Please sit. Professor Thrace gestured to 2 chairs that had been brought in. They looked hastily arranged. Hyunwoo and Minji exchanged glances and sat down. We have reviewed the Earth database extensively over the past few days, the older Velcrin professor said. His name badge read Professor Kelthix, Department Head of Xenobiology. What we found is deeply concerning. Concerning? Minji asked. Is there a problem? The jellyfish professor's translator crackled to life. The problem is that your planet should be impossible. The concentration of apex predators exceeds any rational ecological model. We need your help understanding, Professor Thrace added. We are organizing a special seminar. You would present information about Earth's fauna to faculty and selected students. With proper context this time. Are we in trouble? Hyunwoo asked carefully. No. Professor Kelthix waved a claw. We simply need accurate information. The database is clearly incomplete or miscategorized. Some entries list extinct creatures. Others seem exaggerated. Minji pulled out her datapad. What do you need to know? Everything, the tree professor said, their voice like wind through leaves. Start with current apex predators. Living species only. Over the next hour, Hyunwoo and Minji compiled a list with pictures. Bears, big cats, wolves, crocodiles, sharks, snakes, eagles, Komodo dragons, leopard seals, orcas, and more. The professors watched in growing silence as the list expanded. And humans coexist with all of these? Professor Kelthix asked. Well, we try to give them space, Hyunwoo explained. National parks, wildlife preserves, that kind of thing. But yeah, people live near these animals all the time. Without military protection, the jellyfish professor asked. Why would we need military protection? Minji looked confused. The professors exchanged glances. Professor Thrace pulled up a file on her screen and turned it toward the humans. It showed a small creature, about the size of a house cat with sharp teeth and dark fur. This is a razorfang, the apex predator of my homeworld, Professor Thrace explained. When one enters a populated area, we evacuate the entire district and call specialized containment teams with military-grade equipment. Hyunwoo leaned forward to look at the image. It looks like a raccoon. What is a raccoon? Professor Kelthix asked slowly. Minji was already pulling up an image. They're these little animals that get into trash cans. They can be annoying, but they're not dangerous usually. Kind of cute, actually. The professor stared at the picture of a raccoon. It was similar in size to the razorfang. It had sharp teeth. It had claws. You call this cute? The tree professor asked. I mean, look at its little hands. Minji zoomed in on the image. They wash their food before eating it. Professor Thrace made a sound like a sigh and a click combined. Please prepare your presentation. The seminar is tomorrow evening. Invite other human students if you wish. We need multiple perspectives. That evening, Hyunwoo, Minji, and Subin met in the human common area. Another student, Jiwon, joined them. She was studying interspecies communication and was very interested in the cultural confusion. We need to be careful how we present this, Jiwon said. If we make Earth sound too dangerous, it could affect trade agreements, student exchange programs, everything. But we can't lie, Hyunwoo argued. They want accurate information. Subin was organizing slides on her datapad. We present facts, but we emphasize how humans manage these risks. Safety protocols, conservation efforts, education programs. Show them we're not crazy, Minji agreed. Just adapted. The next evening, the seminar room was packed. What was supposed to be a small faculty meeting had grown. Students from every department had somehow heard about it. The room held about 50 beings, and more were connecting via video feed. Hyunwoo stood at the front with his datapad connected to the projection system. His hands were sweating. Hello, he began. So Earth, right. It's our homeworld, and yes, it has a lot of predators. He clicked to the first slide. A grizzly bear catching salmon in a river. Several students gasped. One made a whistling sound of alarm. This is a brown bear, also called a grizzly bear, Hyunwoo explained. They can weigh up to 360 kilograms. They eat fish, berries, and small animals. Sometimes they wander into human areas. What is your military response protocol? A student called out. Usually we just scare them away, make loud noises, sometimes tranquilize them and move them if they're persistent. You approach them? Another student asked, incredulous. Trained people do. Rangers and wildlife experts. Minji took over for the next slide. This is a saltwater crocodile. They live in water and can grow up to 6 meters long. Very dangerous if you're in their territory. The aquatic students made synchronized sounds of distress. How do you swim? One of them asked. We don't swim where they live, Minji said simply. There are warning signs. You just avoid those areas, but you can swim? In your oceans? The aquatic student pressed. Well, yeah, most places are safe. You just have to know where the dangerous animals are. Jiwon clicked to the next slide. Great white sharks. These are oceanic predators. They can be dangerous, but attacks on humans are rare, usually cases of mistaken identity. Mistaken identity? The jellyfish professor asked. They mistake you for what? Seals, usually, Jiwon explained. Humans aren't their preferred prey. You have studied their preferences? Professor Kelthix leaned forward. You have spent time observing them? Scientists have, yeah. We know a lot about shark behavior now. Subin advanced to a slide showing various snakes. Earth also has many venomous species. These deliver toxins through bites. Some can be fatal to humans without treatment. And humans live near these as well? The tree professor asked. They're everywhere, Subin said. Every continent except Antarctica. You just learn which ones are dangerous and how to avoid them. The presentation continued. Lions, tigers, leopards, wolves, bears, eagles, Komodo dragons, box jellyfish, stonefish, hippos, Cape buffalo, elephants. Each new animal brought fresh waves of shock from the audience. When they reached the slide about hippos, a herbivorous animal that kills more humans per year than most predators, the room erupted in confused chatter. They eat plants but still attack? Someone asked. Territorial behavior, Hyunwoo explained. They're protecting their space. Everything on your planet is territorial, Professor Thrace observed. Well, yeah. That's normal, right? The professors shook their heads. On most worlds, prey species ran and hid. Predators were rare and avoided. The constant territorial aggression of Earth animals was unusual. Then Jiwon made a mistake. She clicked to a slide showing Australian wildlife. Snakes, spiders, jellyfish, octopi, cassowaries, crocodiles, sharks. All from one continent. This is just Australia, she said. It has a reputation for being especially dangerous. A Saurok student, a reptilian species, stood up, looked at the image of a cassowary, and fainted. Their friends had to carry them out of the room. In the back, a student was recording everything. By the time the seminar ended, clips were already spreading across the station's network. Within hours, they had reached multiple systems. The humans had no idea what they had just started. Commander Velthus was not what Hyunwoo expected. The military leader was a Kresh, a species that resembled an upright walking salamander with 4 arms and skin that shifted through colors. Right now, Velthus was a deep blue that apparently indicated serious contemplation. The commander had taken over one of the station's conference rooms for the meeting. All 20 human students sat around the large oval table, with Velthus at the head. 2 other military officers flanked the commander, both heavily armored. Thank you for meeting with me, Velthus began. The translator made their voice sound crisp and formal. I am sure you are aware of the current situation with the Ravager incursion. Nods around the table. Everyone knew about the Ravagers. The news showed battle reports weekly, and the reports were getting worse. The Galactic Defense Force is struggling, Velthus continued. Not from lack of technology or numbers. We struggle because our soldiers come from peaceful worlds. They have never faced true predators. Their instincts are to flee, to hide, to wait for support. The commander pulled up a holographic display. It showed a battle. GDF ships retreating from aggressive Ravager vessels. The Ravagers are a hive mind. They attack without fear, without hesitation. They adapt quickly and press advantages. Our soldiers are brave, but they are not. Veltas paused, searching for words. They are not from Death Worlds. You want us to fight, Daehyun said. It wasn't a question. I want humanity to consider a partnership, Veltas corrected. The GDF can offer full scholarships for military training, priority positions for human commanders, access to advanced technology. In exchange, we learn from your instincts. Our instincts? Minji asked. You come from a world where everything wants to kill you. You learn to fight back, to press forward despite danger, to see patterns in predator behavior. These are skills the galaxy desperately needs. Hyunwoo exchanged glances with others around the table. This was big. This wasn't just about a few students anymore. This was about humanity's role in the galaxy. What exactly would we be doing? Jinwoo asked. He was the only one with actual security training. Initially, advisory roles. Human tactical consultants working with existing units. If successful, we would expand the program. Mixed species units with humans in leadership positions for combat scenarios. We're students, Subin pointed out. We came here to study, not join a military. I understand. This is voluntary. However, I believe many of you would excel. Your species has something most of the galaxy lacks. Veltas changed colors to a warm orange. You have the predator's instinct. That sounds like you're calling us dangerous, Jiwon said carefully. I am calling you capable. There is a difference. Silence fell over the room. Hyunwoo thought about what this meant. Going from biology student to military consultant was not in his plans. But he also thought about the Ravager attacks, about colonies that had been destroyed, about species facing extinction because they didn't know how to fight back. Can we think about it? Daehyun asked. Of course. However, I would like to propose a demonstration first. A training simulation. Human students paired with experienced GDF soldiers, facing a Ravager scenario. No commitment, just an assessment. We need to know if human-alien military cooperation is even viable. What kind of simulation? Jinwoo leaned forward, interested despite himself. A boarding scenario. Ravagers attacking a civilian station. Mixed teams must defend and evacuate civilians. It is our most realistic combat simulator. Veltas's colors shifted to an encouraging green. Participate, and regardless of the outcome, the GDF will fund a full scholarship for any human student who wants one. Combat roles or not, that got everyone's attention. Full scholarships were extremely valuable. How long do we have to decide? Hyunwoo asked. The simulation is scheduled for 3 days from now. Sign up by tomorrow evening. After the commander left, the humans erupted into debate. This is obviously them trying to use us, Subin argued. They see Earth humans as convenient soldiers. Or they genuinely need help, Jinwoo countered. The war is real. People are dying. We're not trained for combat, Minji pointed out. The simulation is just to see if we can work with alien soldiers, Daehyun said. No one is asking us to enlist today. But if we do well, pressure will increase, Jiwon noted. Earth will become known as the warrior species. Is that what we want? Hyunwoo listened to the arguments go back and forth. Finally, he spoke up. I'm going to do the simulation. Everyone looked at him. Not because I want to fight, but because I want to know. I want to know if we actually have these instincts they talk about, or if it's just reputation. And honestly, a free scholarship sounds pretty good. Minji nodded slowly. I'll do it too. We started this whole thing. Might as well see it through. By the end of the meeting, 12 humans had agreed to participate in the simulation. Jinwoo, who had security experience, immediately took charge of coordinating teams. The next 2 days were strange. Human students who signed up received basic briefings on Ravager tactics and GDF equipment. They were fitted for simulation suits that would register damage and track their performance. The alien students watched with mixed reactions. Some were excited, treating the humans like celebrities. Others were nervous, giving humans extra space in hallways. Professor Thrace observed everything, taking notes for what would surely become several research papers. On the day of the simulation, Hyunwoo stood in the prep room wearing the strange suit. It felt like wearing a thin layer of armor, flexible but protective. Around him, other humans were checking their gear. Jinwoo was going over team assignments. Remember, we're paired with alien soldiers. They have experience. We don't. Follow their lead unless we see something they're missing. What do Ravagers fight like? Someone asked. Aggressive, coordinated, they don't retreat. Think Wolfpack tactics but with no fear response. A door opened and their alien partners filed in. Hyunwoo was assigned to a Velcrin soldier named Thex. The Velcrin looked nervous, antennae twitching as they regarded Hyunwoo. I am told you are from Earth, Thex said carefully. That's right. Hyunwoo. He offered his hand, then remembered handshakes weren't universal. He lowered it awkwardly. I have seen the videos. Your world is odd formidable. It's home, Hyunwoo said with a shrug. You get used to it. Thex made a clicking sound that might have been skeptical. They were led to the simulation chamber, a massive room that could project full holographic environments. 20 teams of mixed human-alien pairs spread out across what looked like a civilian station corridor. The lighting was dim, and the whole place smelled like recycled air. Commander Veltus's voice came through their suit speakers. Simulation begins in 30 seconds. Objective: defend this station sector and evacuate civilians to the emergency shuttles. Ravager forces will board from multiple points. Standard GDF protocols apply. Good luck. Thex immediately moved to a defensive position behind a corner, gesturing for Hyunwoo to do the same. The Velcrin pulled out an energy rifle and adjusted settings. We hold this corridor, Thex explained. Wait for the Ravagers to enter our firing zone, eliminate them, then fall back to the next position. Standard defense procedure. Hyunwoo nodded, though something felt off about the strategy. Waiting seemed passive. But Thex was the experienced soldier. The simulation began. Alarms blared. Holographic civilians ran past screaming, and then the Ravagers appeared. They looked like insects crossed with crustaceans, chitinous and fast-moving. They didn't walk, they scuttled, climbing walls and ceilings. There were dozens of them pouring from multiple breach points. Thex opened fire, hitting several Ravagers. Other teams did the same, creating overlapping fields of fire. It was organized, efficient, and tactical, but the Ravagers kept coming. They adapted, using destroyed corridors as cover, flanking positions that seemed secure. Within minutes, several alien-only teams were being overrun. Hyunwoo watched the pattern. The Ravagers weren't just attacking. They were probing, finding weak points, like pack hunters testing a herd's defenses. We need to push forward, Hyunwoo said suddenly. Negative, Thex replied. Protocol is to hold position and call for support. They're flanking us, look. Hyunwoo pointed to a group of Ravagers moving along the ceiling toward their team's rear. If we stay here, we're surrounded. Thex hesitated, antennae quivering with stress. Hyunwoo didn't wait. He grabbed a loose pipe from the ground and moved forward, angling toward the ceiling group. It wasn't protocol. It wasn't what they taught in any manual, but it felt right.